Food allergies. Have you ever had success removing blocks causing a food allergy or intolerance? What kind of things should we be looking for? Well, yes, if you've got the body code, again, you want to think outside the box with these things. I mean, I've had cases where somebody had a major allergy to something, and just by treating the allergy, like we outline in the body code, I've seen that allergy just completely go away and never come back. But sometimes there are other underlying causes. So one of the things that you want to look for with allergies, a lot of the time, if you think of it this way, what system in the body is out of balance if a food allergy, for example, or even an intolerance is happening? Typically, the system that's the most likely out of balance is really the immune system. Okay. The immune system, of course, is what protects us from all the pathogens and all the bad things that are in the world and from infections and invaders. But when that immune system gets far enough out of balance, then it can turn on itself and you can start getting allergies to all kinds of things. So oftentimes there's a liver imbalance going on. Okay, that's very common. In the body code, if you look at the immune system, in fact, let's just go there really quick and take a look. If we go into circuits and systems, and we go into systems and we look at the immune system, okay, you can see the various components that we include there. The liver, of course, extremely important for the immune system. Does the liver get overloaded? Well, yeah, just about everybody in our society has a liver that is kind of overloaded because we take in so many toxins and poisons, and we eat on Teflon pans, and so we get some of that in our bodies, and we use deodorants and things and colognes and things that have all kinds of chemicals, and we sometimes eat hamburger helper and things like that. And I mean, the vast majority of the food that we eat is processed, unless you're eating organically, and if you are, fantastic. Most people aren't. But also, it's not unusual at all to be consuming food that has pesticide residues or herbicide residues in it and things like that. I mean, if you're not eating only organic wheat, for example, you're probably getting glyphosate in your diet, and that's from this is a whole other webinar, but that's from Roundup, and that causes all kinds of problems. So the reality of it is we have toxins in the body, and so typically the liver will get overloaded, and that's one of the big underlying reasons for allergies. So you want to take a look at that, and you might need to have a person do a liver cleanse, okay? And you can look at these other parts of the body as well and see if there are any imbalances going on there. If you're really digging and trying to get at some underlying reasons for food allergies and intolerances as well. Also remember that if you're working on somebody and you're having a problem fixing them, you might need to come at it from a different angle, okay? If you remember, there's a technique in Chinese medicine, in acupuncture, that's called surround the dragon, okay? And what that means is that if you're an acupuncturist, for example, and you don't know exactly what to do for a problem, or maybe everything else you've tried hasn't worked, what they'll do is they'll just put needles around in a circle around that area that's having a problem. They call that surrounding the dragon. Now, in the work that we do, how you can think of this is, okay, if you're approaching a problem from a certain angle, like if you're asking the body, what are the underlying imbalances causing this problem? And maybe you're running out of those, or maybe asking that way is not getting you results as quick as you want. Think about approaching from another point on that circle, okay? Well, you might ask a question like, is it okay for you? Is it okay for you to not have this allergy or intolerance? That might give you a completely different approach into the body. The body wants help, but we have to be intelligent enough to sometimes ask from different angles, different points of the compass. You can also ask things like, is it safe for you not to have this problem? Or you can use your own imagination. And this is where your intuition will come in and help you, especially if you pause and take a moment, and you might need to offer that little prayer for help. Again, maybe you've already offered it once, but you get to the middle of a session, you might need to stop and say, I could really use some help here with this. And what's so cool is that when you do that, that's when those angels, those ancestors, those relatives, I think, of that person that you're working on, that's when they'll be able to come in greater force also and help to whisper those answers to you. And what's so cool about it is that you typically don't hear those answers as a voice or anything. Typically what happens is there's just an idea that forms in your mind. Oh, that's a great idea. And you might think, oh, I had that idea. But the reality of it is that's how the answers come to us. They appear in our own voice, in our own mind. So isn't that kind of fun? I think it's really fascinating. I mean, there are times when you'll actually hear a voice, and that's happened to me on a number of different occasions. And it's a funny thing, but it's those ancestors. I'll tell you about one of those experiences. I wasn't working on anybody. I was just sitting at my desk working. This is probably maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, and I suddenly heard a voice that said to me, it was about my son Drew, and it said, Drew should go to school and study to become an EMT, an emergency medical technician. And I looked around, there was nobody there, and of course I knew, that this is from an angel. This is the voice of an angel speaking to me. And so I got up and I went and I told my wife, I said, hey, here's what I just heard. And she said, that's really funny because last week I was talking to Drew and he was telling me that he's been looking into that and that he's really interested in that. And I just thought, this is the first I'd even heard of that, right? So amazing. Really amazing stuff can happen like that.